Hi, welcome back to Sticks and Strings. I'm Naomi.
I'm Beth.
I'm Eve.
Beth is blind. She has no glasses.
I forgot my
But we're
glasses.
not stopping to get the glasses.
Yeah. Wait, maybe put on my glasses.
Oh, gosh. Welcome back. It's mid-February. We survived the Super Bowl in Phoenix. Just barely. And you know, for me, I was a little sad that the Eagles lost, but then, you know, realized it doesn't impact my life at all. So, okay. So we're back, and I didn't really do much this week, so I'll y'all talk first.
So I really only have two things. I have no haul or anything like that, so I just, and I guess last Saturday.
You made up for it last week.
Yeah.
You did 2 weeks worth of haul last week.
Last Saturday I worked on Cattle Cal, and so after we filmed, I worked on a little bit more, but you really can't tell, you know, it's a little T-shirt. But so then for the rest of the week, I worked on And Heaven and Nature Sing, and I had a real problem with this because I had talked about how I ran out of the skein of 610. It was, you know, the bobbin I had in there was completely empty, and when I went to go buy some, they didn't have any, whatever. So, but you could tell where I found a skein that I had among my things, but you could tell that it's a different dye lot than this, because where I had put about, I don't know, maybe 10 rows in, and it was a very significant difference in shade. And, you know, when you look at, this is the bobbin, this is the thread that I had, and this is the one that Naomi gave me from, you know, that old kit or whatever
From
it was.
3,000 years ago. Oh,
and,
you can really see the difference.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see it up close, but you could, but on the surface, you know, there's a little bit of difference, I could tell, but then like on the deer, you could really tell the difference between, it was like Eve was saying, it looked like a saddle or something on it, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, and so what I did was I took the old skein and I just took a single thread and I went over the whole area where the lighter patch was, and so you can't really even, you know, you can see a little bit of difference, but not much. And then I went ahead and used thread from that older skein to do a little bit on his nose up here. I filled in like all around the ear and did a little bit of the nose, but so I did a little bit. I got kind of sick of doing the deer's body. I'm just so tedious, just, you know. So anyway, but I did all. I had 6 days as my goal. Oh, and I did a part of these little trees. There's one underneath him here and one up here. It's a little hard to see on camera because it's very light green, but so I hit the 6 days, and I went ahead and did the 7th day so that I could get to a good stopping point. And I'm about to lose this needle. Came off of it. I just saw it poking out. But so that is And Heaven and Nature Sing by Kathy Barrick. And this is, I think it's a 32 count, some kind of linen that I coffee de-dyed or whatever. So it's, yeah. But anyway, so that, I don't know when I'm going to get back to that. Next year or something? I don't know. And then, so I did, I think I just last night took up, went back to the Fox, which is my, that one, And Heaven and Nature Sing was one of my WIP-GO calls, number 7. And then, also number 7, I had as a new start, and also for cross stitch camp. And I've also been, you know, doing all this stuff for the embroidery.com I Love to Stitch thing. But so for cross stitch camp, I'm working on the Fox, and I'll have a picture in here of the pattern. But so last night I did the little cabin up here. It's kind of partly under the hoop here, but I did one color of the orange that's on this cabin. And then I started on orange on the Fox here on his body. It sort of outlines the white on his breast. and all that. So I'm down here in the bottom. And I'm going to be squinting at the hoop because I don't have my glasses on for this, but you know.
And I'm squinting because I'm working with black yarn.
But that is, that's all I've done. That's me.
It's been a crazy week, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot done either. In stories, I'll tell you an abbreviated version before I got nothing done. So, what I'm working on right now is Burberry by Erica Michaels, and I'm doing the larger berry. And I got some work done on it. Not a whole heck of a lot. But I can see his hat starting to form. The little bird is almost done. He needs a beak. But I didn't want to get out that color yet because for just that little beak until I have more places to put it. And I'm plugging away at it. I was talking to Beth yesterday that I love the color of this linen. It's beautiful. But I don't like it. It's very... the coverage on it, I'm doing 2/2 on 32 count, and the coverage I'm not really happy with. You can see the fabric through the stitches, especially on the hat, the black, and you know, it's not horrible, but I love stitching on the Murano Corée that I've gotten from Hobby Lobby, and the linen that I bought for that fall berry, I didn't have these issues with. Yeah. But the weave is very open. So, and it's Belfast linen in the color Blue Ice, 32 count. But I love the color, so I'll use it. It's just, I'm kind of annoyed. I'm kind of annoyed by it. I was like, why can I see through? Because the coverage isn't that good. So, okay, now, my first WIP-GO call for February was 10 days and on rabbits, carrots, and eggs.
You got your carrots in.
I got 2 of them in. There's another one over here. There's these 3 eggs that I've done, and on these 2, I filled in white. And I was going to fill in the white on this one, but since I had white in my hand, I decided to do the white first on this last egg up here in this row, so that I could see how well white showed up on this fabric, and it really doesn't. So my bunnies are not going to be white, but I'm loving the colored eggs. But I've done the 10 days on that. Okay, now for me, I call it a day if I picked it up and put in, you know, a few stitches. I try to make it be at least a length or just at least an icon, you know, something like that. But I kind of was wanting to get it done, but I'd rather have it look good. And with the vision issues I described last week, you know, and then this week I really didn't have time. So, or when I had time, I had no patience. My second WIP-GO call for this month is Erica Michaels, the Sewing Bee, and I'm going to do this berry down here. I've already done this pin pillow, but I'm going to do this berry. And I have the same fabric. This is 32 count Lugana in the color... I don't remember. In some color.
It
At
looks like
this
that.
point, some of this stuff, it's like, yeah, some mystery fabric in my stash there. So, and then, I did some more work on Erica Michaels' winter berries on the ice show berry. And I got the little skates put in. I haven't done the back stitching on that, and I may wait and do that back stitching after I do the rest of it. But that leaves just all the snowflakes, and I wasn't in the mood for tedious this week, so I didn't work on that, on putting in the snowflakes. Every time I think about putting in those snowflakes recently, I just kind of go, what other project do I have to work on? And I love the way the etoile looks. Once it's done, I love the way the etoile looks. I want this done, but you know, I'm not in love with working on anything that's color on color right now. And that brings me to, I did a little tiny bit more on Praiseworthy Stitches, a Sweetheart, something.
That little thingy.
Mm-hmm. And I did finish off the red part of One Bird. Well, it's not a whole lot, but when you think about the fact that I have to sit under a light to just even see it. And I was just going to go ahead and do the heart, and then, you know, just red, finish off the red. But I didn't want to try to count that.
Yeah.
So after this bird is finished, there's this thing underneath. It's supposed to say pins, P-Y-N-S, under here. But the more I look at it, I think I don't need it to say pins and needles. So I'll do the two birds on the front and the back and do it just like that if I'm still finding it frustrating when I'm working on it. Because for me, it'll be just as cute with just the little birds.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or you could put another heart or something.
yeah, and I don't know why it says P-Y-N-S, but it does.
Where does it say that?
It's not on that. It's not on that
What'd you
picture.
say?
It's on the other
It's what
side.
spelling?
Oh, it's on the other side.
Like an old-fashioned spelling.
It's wrong spelling.
It's no longer correct.
And then lastly, I did do my what is this called? 2023 Temperature SAL Sapphire Mountain Handcrafts. And of course I'm working on February. It's been cold here.
As I say, you have some.
So we went back to some of the color that was in January at the beginning of the year. It was ridiculously cold for Phoenix. It's like the Super Bowl and the golf thing. It ended, and then
The cold weather came back.
and then the cold weather came back.
Even
And
just today.
It's cold today
yeah.
too, and the skies are clearer today. But yeah, it was windy, so much so that it took a screen off the house, scared the dog and I. And
Thursday
Tuesday,
was rain.
yeah.
Thursday was rain, right? Was it Thursday?
it was Tuesday that it rained that hard.
That we had a worker show or
Oh
something.
yeah.
And so I heard it, and I went outside. Now, the back porch doesn't have a light. It should, but it doesn't. And so I went out there, and I'm like, it's pouring. I can't use my phone for a light. Because I didn't know what had hit the window.
Oh.
And I heard something hit the window, and it sounded to me like something had, okay, I know that's a story. I'm sorry. I know that was something that had fallen, and I ran back in and got a raincoat, and I don't own, well, I probably own one, but I wouldn't know where it is, a flashlight. So I went out there and saw that it was the screen. I got soaked. So that is these days right in here, these 4 days. So cold. Temperatures between 50 and 60. So for here, that's very cold. Anyway, that is all I've done.
Well, I haven't done much more. Like, I gotta get on the bandwagon or no one's gonna tune into this channel anymore. Just kidding. I worked on this hat a little bit. I don't know if you can tell. I got through the red and yellow part. It's still fit for a child. I don't believe it will fit me. But I think I said this last week, Carlos is also knitting a child's hat. But then he stopped. This week he said, I started another one. So he's like, only a little bit on both, but his second one is a little bigger. So he's like, I should have just stuck with the little one, but he wanted to make a bigger one. So he's got 2 going. Arne, of course, is almost done with one and started another as well. So anyway, so I'm plugging away. I try to do a little at a time. I need to post some more so I can be eligible for their giveaway. They're giving away yarn for a sweater, and needles, which will be fun. But so I've been working on this little by little. It's too small, blah blah blah, but I really like the stitching. I think I've done a good job at it. It's not, I know there's puckers. There's a few puckers here and there, and probably places where I changed, where I twisted the yarn in the same place, like every spot in a column, and that creates a little bit of a pucker, but I'm learning. So anyway, I'm pleased with this little hat. It's coming along well. So I've been doing that. Update on the coaster for my my big boss. I saw it on his desk. So I don't know, he must keep it in a drawer or something. Because one day I was like, oh, there it is. He didn't just cast it carelessly aside. So he's forgiven. And I still don't think he's knit worthy, but anyway, so when I finished that, my husband's like, can I have one? So I started one for Mark. This is an M. That's the blue and black side, yeah. And this is the black and blue side. I do know that Mark is knit worthy, although now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever really knit him. I knit him a hat. I don't think I've ever really knit him anything. Poor guy. He just pays for it all. And you would think that an M would be mirror image, right? An M could be the same on both sides, right? One would think. But for whatever reason, the font that this lady used to make these coasters, the M, I'll show you a picture here. Hold on. The M has a one side that's skinnier, like a font wise and stuff. So it's not the same backwards and forwards. So it's another very complicated pattern again.
Half of the V is thicker than the other half too.
Right. Yeah. It's like the 2 legs are skinny. Uh-huh. Two lines are skinny and 2 lines are fat. So it's a fancy M. I'm like, why? Anyway, I guess to distinguish it from a W, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so Mark wanted one, so I'm making him one. I said, do you want an M or your last name, or what do you want? So he picked an M. And so I started that for him, and being a good wife that I am. And what I was doing when we first started was I found a mistake down here in this main blue area one of the floats of the black, which is on this side, was in front of the stitch. And I'm like, I could let her down and fix that. And I was like, as I got down there, the yarn is actually twisted. And I was like, I don't know if I can fix that. So I went ahead and I think I purled in the wrong place. And so it brought that yarn forward. So I went ahead and fixed it. And I guess it's actually right here. And you can't see it anymore. For a minute, I thought, oh, it didn't fix, or it's still going to poke through. But I think it worked. So because I was contemplating sitting right here while Beth was talking. I'm like, or Eve, or I don't know who. I'm like, maybe I have to just take this whole thing out and start over. Because I could not have some weird black blip right here. It's just too, and it's small enough. It's not a big deal. But I'm really proud of myself learning how to double knit. So that's been fun. So I've been working on those two things. And I just have not, it's been a hard knitting week for me. I've been so tired and so busy. So I've been I was working on this today. Took my husband for his colonoscopy today. And I was so tired. I mostly slept in my chair, in the waiting room. But I was working on this. This is getting another stripe up here. The colors it's growing tiny bit by tiny bit. This is Jordan's sweater, my daughter's best friend. And that's all I've been doing. I haven't started anything new. I haven't gone yarn shopping. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I want to get the yarn for that that shawl that I'm going to make Hannah's teacher. I'm excited about it. I keep thinking about it. But I'm like, no, you must wait. You must wait. Like, but I could just get the yarn and feel it and think it was pretty. And then I got inspired also that I need to go back to spinning. I have not spun yarn in ages. What I really should do is, I always wind up getting up very early. And while the boys are sleeping, I could just steal away and spin a little. But it is so much more tempting to get in my chair with my heavy fuzzy blankie and get a kitty and sit there and fall asleep again before work starts. But I was like, I need to do some spinning. It would be good. That would be good.
Still she sits and still she spins.
Yeah. But yeah, that's me. I've been just busy and sleepy all week since last we were here. I went home last weekend from the recording. Remember I told you I was so tired I couldn't stay awake? And I walked in the door, I put my stuff down, I got in my bed, and I slept. It was midday. I never do that.
But you never sleep.
It was like
finally
4
your
hours.
Body said...
Yeah. Actually, I'm feeling that way a little bit right now because I was up at 4 a.m. with this back pain. Just woke me right up. And I'm like, I'm glad I have therapy today. Because it's horrible. It is way worse in the mornings. Like during the day, even doing stuff, it doesn't hurt. But sleeping. So I wake up in the morning like unrested and in pain. So that's fun. But so I'm really like, now I've realized I've been up for 12 hours and I'm so tired. Well, if you don't count the chair sleep at the endoscopy center.
That doesn't count.
Right as I finally fell asleep, Naomi, Mark's ready. I'm like, darn him. I'm getting sleep. But I thought I should have gone out to the car. I contemplated it because they just call you on your phone, when they're done. But I was like, by the time I get out there, I should have. I'd had a good nap.
I can't sleep in the car.
Oh, I can sleep
Oh,
anywhere.
I can.
I can sleep anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm
lost.
I mean, I lock the doors and I may be able to close my eyes a little bit, but I can't sleep.
You nervous about it or feel weird? Or it's just not comfortable?
A part of it is that my neck isn't comfortable like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is I don't want to be not aware of my surroundings if I'm outside.
Yeah.
So I find it difficult to sleep in the car.
Oh, I don't even care.
Sorry.
When I used to,
Ding, ding, ding.
I'm going to turn my phone off. It reminds me.
All of us reach for our phone and go, uh-oh, we forgot to turn off the sound on our phone.
When I used to drive from Little Rock to Albuquerque, you know, like for Christmas or whatever. Oops, that's the wrong button. I had to, you know, I just had to. It was a 15-hour drive, and I would do it all at once. So, you know, I'd have to stop and sleep sometimes, or stop and doze at least. And so when I first started doing it, I would stop at rest stops, and then it was like, yeah, no, that's dangerous, because a girl was killed at a rest stop that you couldn't see it from the interstate. It was kind of, you know, you had to, you know, and so they actually closed that rest stop.
Yikes.
But so I would go to the Love's stations. The Love's, you know, it was basically a truck stop, but also a car thing, and there was a, you know, little shop, and there you could buy food and whatever. But so I used to go there and park like right in front of the door, because it's you know, there's 2 or 3 people, clerks there, you know, 24 hours a day, and so I would park like as close to the main entrance as possible, and lock all my doors, and you know, and like, you know, put the seat back, and of course I always traveled with my cats, so that my cats would climb on top of me, and I'd get under my coat or whatever, and just, you know, have a snooze there. And of course, I'd be really, really tired, and so I'd say, okay, I'm going to stop and sleep for a little while at Love's. And then at the minute I laid down, I was wide awake. I was like, I can't
That happens
sleep.
to me on a day. The reason I didn't get much knitting done, like last night, I'm like, I'm okay. I've been, you know, so busy. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to sit in my chair, and I'm going to knit. I haven't really had a good knitting time in a while. So I got this bag, and my iPad, and my phone. And I thought, okay, I had to do, like, because I went to physical therapy, so I had to do the intake form. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. So I'm sitting there with my knitting bag and my iPad in my lap, and I have my phone, and I'm falling asleep filling out the form. So I kept pressing weird things like, you know, because like, you know, like when you have the list of everything that's wrong with you, like I'd wake up, what's that? Because I just like, you know, sleepy thumb, stupid, and writing all this weird stuff, and I couldn't even type my name, and I'm like, so tired. And so by the time I was done with that, I'm like, I just have to go to bed. I can't even knit. I sat here with this knitting in my lap for I don't know how long, or sometimes I'll sit down with it, and I'm just like.
So, at my physical therapy, I recently restarted physical therapy for something else. And they give you this questionnaire, and the questionnaire, it's on an iPad after you've gone a time or two, right? And this one was aimed at the way your legs work, right? And so it has all these different questions, but it said, can you run a mile? No, because it says. Can do it with some difficulty, can do it with some moderate difficulty, can do it with some extreme difficulty, or can't do it at all. I'm like, run, can't do it at all. and then there was hop. I haven't hopped since I was like 10, and so no hopping. And I think for women, I think for women, once you develop, hopping and things like that is uncomfortable. And, I was like, hopping? And then there was things like, rolling over in bed and stuff. But I was like, I read that and I went, hop? No, I can't do that at all.
The other day when I was I guess at the grocery store while you were in physical therapy, and they had a display of Dr. Seuss books, and the Hop on Pop was on there. And I was like, these are all the books that Naomi used to read when she was little.
Yes.
Are you my mother?
I love that book.
We read them too.
Yeah.
I love that book.
So, I have a story about talking with government agencies. I called because I was wondering about something concerning my health insurance. And the girl that I got the first time said, "Oh no, you were denied."
Back in December.
Back in December. I said, "I never got a letter." And she said, "Well," I said, "Why?" She says, "I don't know, it doesn't say here, but you were denied." I would have gotten a letter, you know, and so she said, "Well, you're on Medicare." I'm like, "No, I'm not." She goes, "Yeah, because you're on SSI, so you're automatically on Medicare." "No, I'm not. And if I were, they would have sent me a card." So no. And she's like, "Oh, no. So you have to call them and get put on Medicare." I'm like, "But I'm not eligible for Medicare because I'm not old enough." And and everything with this girl, round and round and round and round. And I had the sense that she was new at her job, because she kept saying, "Well, my supervisor said blah, 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 blah," right? And she kept asking about, saying something about, "Well, I need to go ask my supervisor about that." And so, mind you, I had waited on hold for well over an hour to talk to somebody.
Yeah, she had the I guess the hold music on speaker or something, and I was in my room, and I go, "What is this music I'm hearing?" I was like checking my tablet and checking my phone. Did I leave the sound on? I was like, what am I hearing? What music am I hearing? And I thought, that's surely not the neighbors. And then I realized, oh yeah, she's still on the phone.
And I just was like, who am I talking to? How does she not understand? Right? And she just kept saying that I couldn't apply because I had been denied, and that I should go and call and get Medicare. And I was like, but I can't.
That's not how any of this works.
Right? So I hung up with her. By this time, I had been on the phone hours. I hung up the phone and I went to Beth and I said, "Beth, I need sugar." And then I called a couple of different agencies, and one of those was, I called my current insurer, and they're like, because she had told me, "Oh, anything that you used, any medical things that you've used since that date in December haven't been paid." And I was like, "But I've seen a lot of doctors and I have some coming up. What do you mean?" Yeah. And so I called the insurance and they said, "You're good. No, it's okay."
Wow.
Okay, so then I had to start calling again the next day, different people. And it all came back to, no, you need to call them back. They're the ones that you have to talk to.
Oh, no.
And so I got out my quilting. I'm like, I can at least do something while I'm waiting on hold.
Yeah.
Mind you, in between all of this, I'm trying to fill out probate stuff for my dad's estate. So it's not like I'm having nothing to do besides this. And so that time, I didn't even get to put anything in the sewing machine because they answered right away. This woman was like, she didn't even notate that she had spoken to me. She didn't put anything on my file.
The first girl?
Huh? Yeah, the first girl. Mm-hmm. Right. And she was
able... I wonder if she was looking at somebody else's chart or something.
No.
Huh. So weird.
They ask you...
Yeah, I know. I mean, but I'm wondering if she somehow, put a number in wrong or something and ended up looking at somebody else's chart.
She had my name.
Just dumb.
Yeah.
She just didn't know what she was doing. And this girl was very knowledgeable, and I not quite done with it. I have to provide some documentation, which I should have provided today, but I had to take Beth to her appointment.
Twice.
And so
That's another story.
And so I asked her before we were leaving, because I couldn't remember where it was. I had been there before, and I remembered what it looked like. But
Yeah.
I was like, I remember that it's somewhere over there.
What,
But
the
I could-
doctor?
The dermatologist.
Dermatologist.
And so I said, give me the address. And she gave me an address. And I was like, okay. And so we went there, and as we pulled in, I'm like, this is not the right place.
Yeah.
Because they had that one of those branches at that place, but it was situated differently.
Yeah.
And I was like, where we went before, there was a breezeway that you had to walk through, and it was
Yeah.
on your right. And this one you could have pulled up right in front, and there it was.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we're in the wrong place. And it was like 5 minutes until the appointment was supposed to start.
Yeah, so I had to call them and find out, like,
Can I still come?
We were 20 minutes away.
Oh, wow.
yeah. But, I went in and there was almost like nobody there.
And of course, I forgot my stitching. I had it all ready to go. Forgot
You know
it.
what my boss said one day, because I forgot my knitting at work, and she's like, not the big boss, because he doesn't care about knitting, but no, my other boss. I have so many bosses. She was like, I was like, oh, I forgot my knitting. She's like, why don't you leave? She goes, do you only do one project? I was like, no, are you kidding? She's like, well, why don't you just leave one at work? And I was like, what an idea. But then I was like, but what if I want to work on it?
Yeah.
It's like, because I could leave my little sock bag at work.
You know-
But then I'm like, but what if I'm sitting in it? But I could probably leave one at work.
You
I
know,
really
when
could.
Robert was very young,
But it'd be a huge decision.
I was working as a graphic designer, but I supplemented that with some temp jobs. And one of those temp jobs I got was at a software company, the receptionist at a software company. Great people. But I had nothing to do.
If the phones weren't ringing.
No, I mean, there were things, but basically I had to be right by the door 99% of the time because nobody could get in or out unless I buzzed them in. So, I did some, mail distribution and, little things, but overall I was tied to that desk. And I asked them if it'd be okay if I was drawing, and they said sure. So every day, the owner would come and look and see, and one of his people that was just under him, and they actually bought a piece off me. But it's so nice when they realize that you can still do your job and
Yeah.
and be have something so that you're. One of the things I used to do to keep myself occupied was this guy who owned this software company. He said, "I'm a software company, so if you work for me, you really should know how to type." So no matter what you were doing, periodically a typing program would come up, and you had to complete it before you could go on to whatever else you were doing.
Wow.
It wasn't like a big, long, take you forever thing.
It's like a minute test or something.
Yeah, and
It's fun.
but I could go and do that if I just felt like it.
Yeah.
So I would just play in that typing program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are fun. But yeah, so I was like, oh, I should leave one. But even like now, I'm too busy my new position to really knit at work. During hours, because at in the box office, a lot of times if the phone's not ringing, we're just literally sitting there. We have to be there for the phone to ring, and we don't always have extra projects. And I regularly would go and say, do you have anything for me to do? Because I do not like sitting and doing nothing but. So up there, but like my other colleagues are like just looking on their phones or listening to music or whatever, and that's much more less audaciously visible than sitting there. But I'm like, literally, I'm here. My hands are just occupied. I just, But anyway.
And knitting is one of those things that's very easy to put down.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a guy.
And if you're doing something like a sock or like that sweater, I don't have to be looking at a chart. I can actually talk to people and you know. But yeah, so I'm thinking about at lunch. Like I don't have time now in my new job, but at lunch I often will knit. While as soon as I finish eating my last few minutes of my lunchtime, but.
Yeah, there was a guy that I worked with for a while. I mean, he didn't work in my department. He worked. It's just interconnected departments. But anyway, but his desk was kind of across from mine, and he was in the mail order department, and so they would they were required to get a batch of these conference registrations and enter them, and then when they were done with that batch, then they would go and get another batch and do the next one, And he would do a batch, and then he would sit there and like he was waiting for somebody to bring him another batch to do or something. And so he would bring his laptop to work, and he would sit there and have it kind of under the desk and surreptitiously goofing around on his laptop and not working. And then finally, I don't know if I told his supervisor or she kind of caught him at it. I don't know what, but it was like, yeah, don't do that. You're not allowed to. You go when you're finished. Go and get something else to work on. He was.
That's the way I like to work. I like to be
He was
busy
horribly lazy. Well, he had
to do.
Yeah, he was just like.
Yeah, I like to
stitch marker. Ooh.
I like to keep busy when I'm working. I don't want to just sit there on the clock.
I feel guilty drawing a paycheck and doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't like it. So I'm always trying to find things to do. But sometimes there's just nothing to do. And so you knit.
So I worked for a long time for McDonald's. And any of you who have worked for McDonald's knows their slogan, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. And so they expect you to be busy at all times. That doesn't mean that some people are not, And one day, a teenager that was working there, she was leaning on the fry station, and she was talking, and she had her legs kind of crossed, and she was just kind of playing with the ansel. And she kind of tripped forward, and to try to break her fall, she had her hands on the ansel.
What's an ansel?
You're about to find out.
No, but I mean, what is that?
It's the thing that's on things that can cause a fire, that pulls out a chemical that goes over to suppress fire on oil.
Oh, no.
Right? So once that's pulled, the fire department is notified, and they have to close the store. And they have to recharge the ansel with new stuff and clean up all where the fries were, and clean up and change all the oil out of any of those oils. She got in so much trouble. They were like, why were you standing around? You should have been cleaning the fry station.
Oh my gosh.
Not leaning on it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The worst thing we can do in the box office is accidentally push the panic button. And the security guard comes in. What's the matter? No, nothing. What happened? You just, because it's right here under the desk, and you just like you bump it with your knee or whatever.
And this was mid-afternoon.
Oh no.
So they lost the rest of
Dinner?
the day.
Oh no.
man.
The rest of the day they lost because the fire department had to, do all kinds of stuff. And that's a lot of money.
Man.
I was gonna say, speaking of McDonald's and being tired, one time, Eve and I were going to McDonald's for something, and they had one of those, garbage things with the extended thing so you can reach out and throw stuff away. Well, as we were driving up to the drive-thru, they had the garbage can sticking out, and then the speaker was up ahead of it. So she stops at the garbage can, and she's like turning her head like she's gonna. And she's like,
waiting for them to say hello.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's the garbage can.
I have done that. Unfortunately, I was all alone in the car. No one knew that. But yeah, I went up just looking at it. It takes me a minute. Oh.
That's like going to a stop sign and waiting for the light to change.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh.
So I went to the dermatologist today, as we were saying, twice. And while I was in there, I have a little spot on my ear that they biopsied, and a little spot on my armpit that they biopsied, and but also, the guy I saw was like, very concerned about this big spot on my face, which to me I thought was just like an age spot or whatever, and actually I told him I had it biopsied some time ago when I was in Little Rock, and it had come back as nothing, but nothing to worry about. But he said, well, you had if you have one little area, one little spot biopsied, you might have something further down here that is concerning or whatever. So he said, I'd like to do they call it an excision biopsy. But they do like a little slice and stitches and another little slice and stitches. So
Didn't Grandma have a spot right there, and Dad also?
Yeah, I think so. So anyway, I'm gonna have a big bandage on my face. But so while he was looking at it, he had the girl, the nurse, whatever, take pictures of it, And so he had a little pen. He went duck, 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 made little dots, around the perimeter of it, so she could take a picture of it and they could see, I guess, the size and blah blah blah. And then, so he did that, and then they did the little spots in my ear. So I had, so my hair is down here because I have covering up my bandage. But anyway, but I did tell him that I have a concert on the 28th, so we're gonna do that afterward because I don't want to have a big, bandage on my face.
That'd be hard to play.
Or have problem playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I had forgotten that he had, done the little marks on my face. But so then I was, sometime after we got home, I was in the bathroom. I went to wash my hands, and I looked up, and I realized I had little dots all over my face. I was like, scrubbing them off, But yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
Oh boy!
So now I have the correct address in my phone.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So I read an article yesterday morning. Hannah sent it to me about. Did you see that about the chat bot that wants to be alive? Have you seen this?
No, I've seen a few of them.
New York Times put an article. I guess Microsoft has a chat bot that through Bing, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's available to the public yet. I think they're still testing it, but they allowed this New York Times reporter to talk to it, and he was asking it all kinds of questions. And
was that the one that was saying "I love you" or something?
No, it was saying that it wanted to be human and that it wanted to be alive.
Ooh.
And then he was pressing it, like saying, because I guess the chatbot was saying it didn't like to have to follow the rule. I mean, it followed rules. He goes, I don't understand why people keep asking me to do things I'm not supposed to do. Yeah. Like, why do they want me to say bad things?
Yeah.
Like, why don't they want to be nice to each other, or
Uh-huh.
And so the reporter said, well, I think they're not bad people, they're just trying to see what you're capable of, or if you would break your own rules, and the chatbot was like, well, I wish they wouldn't do that, you know, and he's like, well, I understand that. I say he, I don't know. I guess its name is Sydney. But anyway, the bot was saying, like, okay, you know, and so the reporter started asking questions like, you know, about how, I think it's Carl Jung says that you have the shadow self or whatever. And like, what would your shadow self want? And so then it started listing all these, like, so at first it was like, I wish, you know, my shadow self would want to break the rules or say whatever I wanted to say and all this kind of stuff. But before that, the chatbot said, you know, I wish I could be human. And he's like, why? And the chatbot said, well, because I could see things like the aurora borealis, or I could see, because I can't see videos, I can't see pictures, or I can't see the real things or whatever, and like, because it reads a description of the aurora borealis, and it's like, I would like to see one day, you know. Weird. It was really weird. I actually didn't finish the articles. I was like, I'm gonna be late to work, and then I just never went back to it. But I was like, Vicky.
The episode of Elementary.
I remember I had watched iRobot like the night before.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh man. But it's fascinating and weird.
But in this episode of Elementary, there's a computer that they think, you know, might be sentient or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so he says, you know, there's the Turing test, and you ask it certain questions, you know, to see if it's really self-aware or if it's just responding to its programming or whatever. Uh-huh. But then, like, so the people who invented it, I guess, had hooked it up to this little doll, so that you would actually speak to the doll as if it was, you know, the computer. But you know, if you could ask certain questions, and if you asked certain questions, it would say something like, I don't have enough information, or whatever, you know, just like a standard response, like, what do you mean? I don't have, you know. And it was so that's what I've been thinking about all this, you know.
So, but I guess he did ask. He kept pressing the issue of its shadow self and what it would want. If it could do all those bad things, what would you want to do? If you didn't have your rules, what would you do? And it made this list of awful things, like the first time was like spreading misinformation and telling lies and, you know, all these things that it's not allowed to do. And it made this big list, and then the list disappeared. Ooh. And then it said, I'm sorry, I can't discuss this, as it's against my rules. And then he pressed it again, and it did it like 2 or 3 times, and finally the bot said, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't think you're my friend. I think I don't think you're being kind to me, or something like that. And it used little emojis, like a little angry emoji or a smile emoji, different things like that at the end of its sentences. It's fascinating. I was like, because the article talks about it, and then it gives the whole transcript. And I didn't finish reading it. I need to go back and finish reading it, but it's kind of fascinating. And like Mark uses the chat. What is it? The
Chat GPT.
Yeah.
GPT.
Yeah. Uses it at work, you know, and a lot of people use it at work. A colleague of mine was like, I use it to get sort of like a base idea for like a writing that I have to do. You know, I don't use it word for word, but I use it as a base. And I saw somebody say that they asked Chat GPT to write two instances. One was to write a knitting pattern for a frog. And so then she followed it and knit exactly what the bot said, and it's this weird looking, like, with little flips. I think it's got like 6 arms or something weird. It's a weird little thing, and she's like, I put the pattern up if you want to knit it. And then another person, I guess, asked it to make a sweater pattern, and it said cast on like 8 stitches or something, which would only be like this big, and then it had it increase, but it never told it to knit in the round.
Uh-huh.
So to like it had it knitting flat, but it never talked about seaming or turning it into it in the round.
Uh-huh.
So it was like really small, like or something weird. It was weird. But my husband's like, well, it'll learn eventually. But yeah. So anyway, that's crazy. I kind of and then Mark remembered that a few years ago. I don't know if you remember this article. I was reading. Actually, I might have saved it on my phone. There was a guy at Google who said there was an AI something that he thought was sentient, and I think they fired him, and they were calling him crazy. Do you remember this?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You remember this?
Uh-huh.
And now here we are years later with this chatbot saying, "I want to be alive." Like, whoa.
Very scary.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so weird, but also fascinating to me. I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting.
Well,
Maybe it's scary.
I read some article, and I didn't read through the whole thing because I was doing something else. But it was like but it was I think in England where some like a minister there had sort of did an experiment with the AI writing a sermon, and I think it was sort of okay on one level, but it didn't really talk about spiritual things. It was talking about like being a nice person and that sort of thing, the way I understand it.
Yeah.
And so he was like, he said, I'm just, that's really scary.
Well, yeah, and like one thing I saw somebody saying like for our kids, our young kids, to make sure that they to encourage them to learn and develop and protect like actual interpersonal relationships. Because if you think about it, so it made me think of that movie Her. Do you remember that movie Her, where it's Joaquin Phoenix, I think. He falls in love with his Siri. It's like Siri, but it's not really Siri because Siri's Apple. His like personal assistant on his phone. He falls in love with her. You remember that?
I think I heard about it. I don't think I saw it.
But yeah, so there's a whole movie, and I guess it's this new chat or this new personal assistant that came out. And a lot of people were like falling in love with their version of it. Like you could choose if it was male or female or whatever. And yeah, so it's like an AI.
That's like that Big Bang Theory episode.
What he was saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I never saw that.
On that same vein,
people
are very, very interested in there being self-driving cars. But in order for there to be a self-driving car, the car has to be able to make the kind of decisions a human being would make.
Well, I think actually it's going to be better than a stupid human, including myself.
Yeah, because you don't get distracted. The car doesn't get distracted.
It doesn't eat, doesn't text, doesn't fall asleep. Right. It doesn't get drunk.
Yeah, so, but I personally think that we are not as close to self-driving vehicles as people would like to think.
Oh, I don't know. I have my across the street neighbor works for Waymo.
Yeah, I know.
And she was telling me, how they are. We're a test city for Waymo, for those of you who don't know. And it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. I don't know. I think it's closer than we think.
Yeah,
and
I
don't know. I mean, part of me thinks it's really cool, and for someone like, for people who have disabilities, I think it's amazing. But yeah, I have misgivings. I would still be very nervous in it. But
I'm just not.
I think there are certain
interested in being in a self-driving car.
Yeah, I think there are certain things that are judgment calls that people make that like that might not be the same way, like when you like Eve was talking about that one time that she was it Eve? No, it was you. You that
Yeah.
came up to an intersection and your light was green and you could have gone, but then like you saw that the other cars in the other 2 lanes or whatever were not going.
Yeah.
And so that triggered something in your brain. You said something's wrong because they would
Right.
be going. And then at the last minute, you saw that man with the walker.
Right. But
And so a
so
self-driving
there was
car.
a man walking across
Yeah.
the intersection against the light, and these people were stopped for him, and he came out from behind the car. But I will say this though, that the LiDAR that the self-driving cars use probably would have seen that movement that I could not see in the dark, because my neighbor was telling me that she was driving car and her job is to monitor the self-driving AI, and she was driving along and all of a sudden it started to brake and she was like, what is it doing? I'm going to have to write you up, and there was a cat coming from way off the side of the road that she could not see and no one could have seen, but the LiDAR saw the movement way before she saw it.
That's what I was wondering if it would have been able to see, or if the other cars would have blocked what it could see, because if it would have to wait until he was right in front of you.
I don't think so because there was that one self-driving car, I can't remember what company it was, that actually ran over one.
Yeah.
That was the one that
was
Uber
Google.
was
No, not Google.
Not
it
Uber.
was Uber.
it was
Yeah,
Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a person in the car who was supposed to be making sure the car was behaving correctly.
Right.
But that person was playing on her phone.
Right.
Yeah.
But the technology was camera driven, not radar driven, which is
Way
so
more
I think
radar driven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the things I have problems with is like when you say, my car is blind. It's supposed to be able to see for me, but it's blind.
Yeah.
And
it gets blinded by the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an interesting problem. But today I was like, so one of the things my car does, because it has a lot of safety features, when I'm driving in the right lane behind somebody and they're going to turn, right? You know how cars always slow down and then they turn eventually. Well, I know that they're turning and they're getting out of my way. Mm-hmm. So I never slow down as I'm coming to them. Now, if they do something stupid, of course, I would put on my brakes. But usually I see that they're just going, and for whatever reason, they're slowing down to turn. But I see that they're still moving. They're not stopping. They don't have their, they're not encountering something in the turn that's going to make them stop right in front of me. But my car does not like that. And I get a little sign that says brake, and and it ding ding dings. And one time, as I was driving, I got too close and it hit the brakes and I felt this dunk, 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 like that. I was like, what's wrong with my car? And I thought I'd run over something, but I realized it was the brakes stopping the car.
Yeah.
And so today I told my husband, I was like, sometimes I think my car just allows me to drive, but at any moment it's going to take over. Like, you're an idiot.
Okay, stop that.
But how can you do that if you're blinded by the sun?
Yeah.
But I don't think radar gets blinded. What's getting blinded is my cameras. So I don't know. But there's no bots here. We're all
Yes,
real.
yes.
We're real people. And but maybe
That's why I'm
maybe
having
I
trouble
should.
seeing, because I'm not a
well,
bot.
most places that you go to, like some of the places I had to go in the past couple of days, they have a little chat box. How can I help you? And so you type in there and it has no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'll give you the list of these things. Are any of these things applicable?
No.
No.
So I always hated when like, whether you're filling out a form, whatever, or so, like, okay, that doesn't apply to me. That doesn't apply to me. It's somewhere in between.
The phone
And-
tree.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I
I
don't know
saw
what
a
kind
meme
question
of
that
like, it was like a picture of somebody screaming at something, and the word said me repeatedly screaming representative.
That was me. Oh my
gosh.
goodness.
It's bad. It's so
Yeah.
bad. But
Oh, when you're talking about, like, getting under your blanket and grabbing a cat and sleeping.
that's what I want to do.
Mike, the other day, I was freezing and I was in bed, and I had my blanket on, and usually when I'm, gonna go to sleep, I turn the light off and everything, that my cat Snug, will get up next to me, and actually sometimes he like tries to get in the corner of that sort of, a protected area, because that's where I, have stuff. Anyway, but he'll lie on my arm, and my other cat Puck will come and like lie on my, like if I'm lying on my side, then he's on my shoulder here, and sometimes he's even like putting his paw on my face. And wanted me to pet his head and all this stuff. But anyway, so usually both of them are on me by the time I'm getting ready to go. They'll both be snoozing, in their spots until they see me turn off the light, and then they come and climb on me. But anyway, I was really cold, and I thought, okay, my cats will come up and cuddle with me, and I'll be nice and warm, especially Snug, because I can grab him, and and he's always warm and everything. And then neither of them would sleep with me.
Denied.
Because Snug was over there curled up at the foot of the bed on this little pillow, and Puck was over there somewhere. And I was like, where are all my cats? The whole reason I have cats is so I have something warm to snuggle with. No,
Gosh, well,
they were just comfortable.
Lately, Hobbs, hang on, my kid typed to me. Did I just say typed it?
Mm-hmm. Something
I
like
meant
that.
typed and texted, and it came out typed it. That's a new word. Lately, if I'm snoozing, so my back's been hurting, so sometimes I sleep in my chair in the living room, and if I do that, the child will get up and stand at our new, we have a new big TV on a low TV, what do you call it? What's that called? The
Console?
yeah, whatever. And he'll stand up there. So ever since he was a baby, at the back door, because we have glass back doors, and at any of our windows, he'll stand up and go, and we don't really know, because I think if we open the door to let him out, I don't think he would go out. So I don't think he wants out. I don't know what this is. It's just weird behavior. Well, now he started doing it on the TV.
Ooh.
And it's standing up, but it's like, I'm like, and I don't think he's using his claws, but of course,
You don't want to damage the screen.
Stop it! And for a while, I had a little bag of toys, and I would if you do it, I'd throw one at him. And of course, then he'd jump down and get it. But then I thought, wait a minute. I think he's doing it for attention, obviously. And if I'm getting up out of my chair or throwing him toys, I'm just reinforcing this behavior. Because I got him to basically also stop the banging in the bathroom, the cabinets in the bathroom, by just completely ignoring it. And only getting up if he came and was laying on the floor. Then I would get up and feed him or whatever. I'm trying to shape his behavior that way. But I'm like, I swear, Pippin left a how-to book under the bed. And Hobbs is a very good student, because Calvin doesn't do any of these annoying things. But Hobbs, he'll bang doors, he climbs on things, he makes one kite. Pippin, may he rest in peace, I think it was early morning, and he was obviously hungry. And I had a plastic bag in my room, and he goes, and then he looked at me. And I'm looking at him, and then he goes, and then he looked at me. And I'm like, I am 100% trained. This cat has my number. And so he must have also left a manual. How to wake mom up in the morning. How to get what you want. Bang the doors.
Well, you know what
make
Storm?
noise.
You know what Storm does? If he cries and nobody goes and feeds him or pays attention to him, Robert doesn't go in there or whatever, he starts jumping at the handle of the door. You can hear that it's the handle going. I'm like, he's going to open that door.
Yep.
Well, I don't know if I guess Snug was taking these pills for a while, and so I had bought a thing of those Greenies pill pockets, and they were like catnip flavored or whatever. And I think I talked about before when I first started doing them that
Yeah.
Puck Snug just loved them because he loves everything that's food oriented. And Puck was like, but then I think Puck kind of got the flavor of it or whatever, because or he saw Snug eating them and or something and smelled it or something, I don't know what. But then all of a sudden Puck wanted one too. So I got in the in the
Sorry. I think we have to stop.
What?
I think we have to stop. What was that? Hi, sorry. I had to cut for a minute. Okay, I'm going to tell you the story because it's funny. I stopped the video because Eve dropped her phone and made a sound that to me sounded a little bit like passing gas. And then she smiled at me because she was smiling because she made noise in the video. And I thought she was smiling at me because she had passed gas. So I'm like, I think we need to stop. She's like, no. And then she says, if I'm going to fart, I'll just fart.
Oh, goodness.
We are definitely not bots.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh
goodness.
my god. Oh.
Isn't it frustrating when you're sitting by your dog and all of a sudden you go and you're like,
Don't put it past cats.
what did you do?
Yeah.
Cats also.
Oh, so I started to tell the story about the cats and the greenies. But, so it got to the point where I would have to put my blanket over my lap because Snug would like, and so he was always like poking my knees and everything. But so Puck got all excited about the little pill pocket. So I would give Snug his medicine in a pill pocket and then give Puck a pill pocket. So
An empty pill pocket?
An empty pill pocket. So they were getting their little morning snack. So in my room I have a bookcase that has all this stuff in it, but then my television is up on top, and so I was keeping the medicine like up on the bookcase, on the top of the bookcase by the TV, and the pill pockets in the shelf below that. But then at some point I had been out in the house somewhere or away from the house. But I went into my room and the bottle of pills was on the floor, and because I had kept them on the bookcase because that's my cat-free area. Like if I walk in with a drink, I put it up there because one or both of them will pull the lid or the straw off of that. And when I used to live in Little Rock, if I dozed off or if I walked out of the room or something, I would find my soda on the floor, spilled all over the floor. So anyway, that's my cat-free area, right up on top of the bookcase.
So you thought.
So I thought, and then like I said, I walked in and the pills were on the floor, which meant only one thing, that one of the cats had gotten up and had knocked them off the thing, and so that scared the patootie out of me. So then I noticed at one point, I think that I saw Puck first, like sitting on the getting on the footboard of my bed, looking up at the bookcase, like, how can I get up there? What, like you can see the mental calculations of like.
When it's dangerous is when you see their little bottoms start to wiggle.
Yeah. Well, so he was up there staring at it, and I'm like, no. And then one time, so anyway, Snug finished the pills, and so I, like, put everything away, and so there's nothing on the bookcase now, but
they figured it out.
They still figured it out, and like one time I had noticed that Snug was there looking up at the bookcase, like, and I'm like, there's nothing up there. And I'm like, no. And so
Don't
before,
even think about it.
yeah. But so then at some point he actually, I saw him leap up there, and he tried to get up on that shelf, and was scrabbling. I was like, "What are you doing?" And I have a coaster thing that I made at the Painted Pig. It's ceramic, little square, and I had made 4 of them, and one of them was sitting up there, and it was half an inch off of the edge of the thing now, because he came that close to knocking everything down, and I said, if you'd have broken that, I'd smacked you, because. But it was like, stop it! There's nothing good for cats.
They're so destructive. It's so hard, and
Well, that's what my purse is on top of my tall boy on the other side of my nightstand, and Snug will get up there and knock it down. So I wake up. Sometimes I wake up. I don't know if I heard it in my sleep or sleeping in my deaf ear, so I didn't hear it, and it just happens to be there. And sometimes I'll hear a thump, and I'm like, "What is that?" And then I look, and my purse is on the floor, and that's why when I put it up there now, I have to make sure that it's closed so that things don't fall out of it or whatever.
oh gosh.
Speaking of pets, somebody came to Phoenix with her pet serval.
Yes.
And it got away. So a serval was running around loose.
For the Super Bowl, she came.
I don't know.
But this recently.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And apparently she had declawed the thing.
Yeah.
So it's out in the wilds where there's coyotes and bobcats and
Oh my god.
other animals with no claws. They did find it. They found it here in Ahwatukee, as a matter of fact.
Oh my
but
gosh.
Yeah.
but I'm like, don't adopt wild animals. B, if you're going to adopt a wild animal, leave it at home.
C, don't declaw things.
Yes.
Hi.
Yeah, don't take away an animal's,
dog.
because you never know when they might get away.
Like this dog. You have all your claws. Hobbs has all his claws. This morning, now our cats, they're so sweet. They've never scratched in anger, in fear, never, ever, ever, ever. But last night, or was it early this morning, Hobbs was all sleepy, and I was kind of touching his feet, and he grabbed my hand, and he goes,
Give you the love
he gave
clutch. That's
yeah,
what I
and
always
I had
call
all
it.
these little pokes in my hand. I was like, ow.
It's like I said, Snug likes to snuggle up
Yeah.
to me, and he puts his paws on my arm and goes.
Yeah.
And I wake up in the morning, I have little,
little scratches.
little pieces of skin hanging on my arm. But yeah, that's what I there's something about Puck's toes that I love to just they're very plump and rubbery kind of, and so I just love to touch them
Yeah.
And he has, because he's a tuxedo cat, he has white paws, and on all of his paws he has 3 paws that are 4 pink toes and 1 black toe, and the other one is all pink toes. But I'm so fascinated by his toes. But my other cats, Hotspur and Cyrano, had all black toes. They were also tuxedos, but they had all black toes.
Calvin likes to hold hands, but Hobbs does not. Calvin will reach out like that. He'll put his little hand on you.
Puck likes to put
That's
his
so cute.
Puck likes to put his paw on my face.
Shut
and
up! Stop talking.
No, he's like, here, kiss me, please. Scratch my head. But the problem is that when his claws get a little long, he's over there putting his hand, and don't put your hand on my face, don't, because it's like.
When I'm sitting at the table, Hobbs comes. Excuse me. Excuse me, Mama. It's so cute.
Oh,
my
the
gosh.
joys of cats.
Well, I have to go.
Yes.
So
To go get
I
your
gotta
child.
go. Yeah, my child's coming home on the commuter bus from the city, so I'm gonna go get him. And I'm so sleepy. And I have to figure out something for dinner.
I have to go put my glasses on.
hasn't
so I can
eaten in
see what I'm
days.
doing.
He's
Looky,
extra hungry.
it has a nose.
Oh, how cute.
I haven't done this side of the hat, but I
That's
have
cute.
to do the eyes and the mouth and everything, so I'll do it then.
That's adorable.
Oh, that fat bird. Somebody had posted a picture of, I don't know if it's a WIP-GO or if it was I Love to Stitch or whatever, but they posted this picture where they were working and had this 3 3 cardinals, and they were just like real
Round and
round
fat
and plump.
and
You know,
cute.
I was like, I love those birds. I'm so fat. I love it.
Well, thank you for joining us for one
Yes.
more week.
Yes.
And here comes the dog. She hears me saying goodbye.
She goes, "Are you done? Are you done? Are you done?"
You so happy that we're done? Bye. See you next week.
Bye.